if we're within the Constitution, and it's been ruled more than once, Marbury versus Madison, I often point to that, if it's repugnant to the Constitution, it's null and void, which is we can amend these things. And Bruce gave some good, light, shine some light on that in regard to more nuance to it. But I still think it's important to think about that, if we get to a point to where these things are being slowly eroded, and it's going back to the words even in the same conversation, is that this shall not be infringed. So if we believe that we have the right to this, for some grouping of men to get together and say, well, we argue, because you put us here, that we can just remove that just seems completely counterintuitive to me. It's like it's a core value concept that living document we can alter if it's not repugnant to the original ideals, which are for everybody. It's as much as you and I both discuss a world without government, I still argue that this is the best that's been achieved in regard to trying to have some check and balance within a state of society.
And I will continue to argue that for people who are really patriotic, to me, one of the greatest patriotic acts is when you see unjust laws or an unjust application of law nullify.
Yeah, right.
If there's an unjust law, the unjust law will have to be adjudicated in some court. And when you have an opportunity of serving on a grand jury, or then a jury, if you ever have an opportunity to do that, if you're listening to the law that somebody's accused of violating, okay, and thinking, or you think that it's a persecution of the law in the sense that this person is somewhat targeted, as opposed to it's a general application that's pretty consistent in application, and that somebody is really might have done something wrong, but maybe 90 people who did the same thing, nobody would have ever done anything about. So that person is more persecuted, than prosecuted, then I would say a patriotic person would nullify any injustice, any injustice. So we're here, and when we're in judgment of other people, our main goal should not be if it's legal or illegal. In my opinion, it should be, is it just or unjust? I think that's our obligation. Is, do we want to live in a just society, or do we want to live? I mean, a lot of the things that I don't like to keep using this as an example, but a lot of the atrocities, of putting Jews into concentration camps, into putting the badges on them and putting that was all done by law. I mean, so the question is, do a decent people, and we have this issue today that we cannot talk. That's still a polemic is about, the 6 Democrats that did that video, regarding telling people that there were, illegal acts. And again, as we talked about last time, when George Washington had his opportunity in the Whiskey Rebellion, the only 2 people were convicted. But when they were convicted and sentenced to death, he pardoned. So Trump said he would do that because Trump knows nothing about history, because Trump will tell any lie with facility, and he doesn't even care if it has the truth or not, because then he'll just attack anyone who attacks them, and then he'll get a mob attacking them, so that they are cowering in fear, for telling the truth, or questioning, or he tells so many lies, that you seem like you're nitpicking because it's just so many lies, or people think the substance of his statement is true. So if they believe the substance of his statement is true, they justify the lies by saying the substance is true, even if there are lies. The main point is truthful. So he's just telling the truth using lies. So, I don't think I don't think that's the way we should communicate with each other.
Oh, absolutely. A good example, to a much smaller degree, obviously. And I would even argue probably smaller to a smaller degree, even if they were in the presidency. Trump's base is why this is, I think, as powerful as it is. But you saw Nancy Pelosi, for example, in I think numerous examples in the past, do something somewhat similar. Maxine Waters, for example, even Lindsey Graham from the other side. But I'm trying to think of Democrats who basically get like a base riled up about something, and then you get these radical left groups that will go out and do something, like we're seeing radical right groups go out and do things in the same way. I mean, and just to point out that this has been something that's been building, and Trump seems to have gotten this down to, I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I forget the other guy's name who said the same, coming out, but her coming out and saying that she was threatened and then her resigning. I mean, that was a powerful move that I think shook a lot of people free from that kind of blind support. Because you're seeing the response of that. You can't hide. This mob is going after people and threatening people, and you've got the, Nick Shorters and Laura Loomers out there that are like rushing forward, driving people to go attack others while screeching about being doxxed or being called a fascist. I'm kind of going off on a point, but it's just kind of humorous to watch because of how, ridiculous it is, but it's also pretty extreme.
Yes. And I made a similar point Ryan, in discussion of, given now that Fannie Willis case against all those people is dead now, even though she was able to get people. I mean, apparently that this prosecutor decided there's no evidence there, even though she got several people to plead guilty. Okay, they can acknowledge their guilt and who were cooperating. Instead of leveraging off of that, he just decided to pretend nobody did anything wrong. So kind of interesting. But when this judge, who was very prestigious, former judge and lawyer, when he was testifying, he acknowledged that Fannie Willis came to him prior to her boyfriend Wade, or ex-boyfriend Wade, whatever their circumstances are, and he said on a witness stand, he said, I don't want what goes along, the baggage that goes along with working on a case like this.
Right.
And the judge they could not find anyone who could prosecute it. So we don't know if they could find people to prosecute it because they didn't think there was a decent case there. Or we don't know who people just said, I don't want the burden of being the one. I don't want to live my life with death threats and stuff like that. So what kind of statement does that make about the society we live in? I mean, and again, I'm not making this about right wing, left wing. Just people should listen to that and say, this is appalling. This is appalling that people, that responsible people sit back and say, it just isn't worth fighting for. I want to live my life. I want to live my life in reasonable peace. I don't want to expose my family. And I'm saying these are reasonable, these are legitimate arguments. I'm not condemning the person, who doesn't have the courage to put this at risk. I think our system is worth putting at risk. And I think if we want to preserve it, we have to take a risk to do it. But I don't want to sound too judgmental, because I think it's also reasonable to sit back and say, I got a responsibility to my family, and I don't want anything to happen to them, and so sure, I love my country, but really, how much am I going to change it, as opposed to really what the impact on the life of my loved ones.
Yeah.
So, but
it's an interesting double-edged sword on this, or I guess that'd be the wrong point, but it goes basically, you've got a situation. Oh, I think I just I just lost the thread on that. Sorry, go ahead, Jeffrey. Point just lost me. Go ahead. Well, I forgot what you just said. I was going to make a point.
I was referring to the circumstances where somebody has to divide their loyalty to their country versus their loyalty to their family. And sometimes if you loyal to your country, you're putting your family at risk. So I can understand people saying, I love my country, but there's a limit to my love. I love my family even more. And that's perfectly understandable. For me, I love my principles above everything.
I'm going to forget again. Hold on.
It's not the country, and I love, and it's not that I don't love my family, but for me, my principles come first in my life, but I don't expect, and the people who are close to me know that about me. So,
before I forget again, though, the threats, basically the threat goes two ways, right? Where I think what they do by doing that is clearly, I think, by design from the government to get people to be afraid to call things out, to push back. But so you basically set the tone where people are afraid to be honest or to go after it. But at the same time, you get, like you're saying, people who might have the morals and integrity and principles are going, screw that. I don't want to be involved in that chaos. And so we get the Bondis and the Noems and the Cash Patels. And that's, so like Bruce points out, you get I call the junior team. So it kind of goes both ways, as they're kind of shooting themselves in the feet by having people that are too incompetent to truly do it the right way. But it started, I argue, by trying to scare people away from, calling these things out. So it's interesting how that's working out. It's sort of like a, dying empire point.
Yeah, one person now has made a point, says, what explains the desperate animality of Trump when he calls someone stupid for questioning his foreign policy?
Yeah. I mean, it's the place we're in right now. I mean, I think it's desperation. I think it's because Donald Trump knows you can't respond. If you look at the evidence, like we said, this is what I was saying before, the evidence is clear, right? He gave asylum, or his administration did. So that clearly, without question, means that you have responsibility. So he just goes, "Are you dumb? It was Biden." And so then the talking point is that, and all the blind followers just skip right over that point. I think that's what it was. But that's what's so crazy, is anybody honest in the room is like, well, it's pretty clear why you did that. So it's desperation. That's the only way I can read that.
Yeah, and one of the articles, I don't know if this one I shared with you were from, because I'm always looking for material, so I always check like Gateway Pundit, because they always say so much stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And it's so hyper partisan. And like when they call these questions to Trump as gotcha questions. They loved gotcha questions to Biden. So,
Right.
but they call giving to Trump, it's a gotcha question. It's a gotcha question, basically saying, yeah, why did you, given the facts of Afghanistan, given the facts of this, why do you just blame Joe Biden? And yeah, it's because I think it's a distraction, and the people and the MAGA people love it. And the type of publications that don't love it, they won't read. Okay. So like the people on the left, they'll read their publications that'll reinforce their beliefs, and they won't read the other publications because people don't make an effort to try and understand each other. So that's pretty sad. And nobody wants to sit down and say, okay, let's try and figure out why we disagree and what are the facts and what things we disagree with. And some people, unfortunately, today don't, as you've already pointed out, don't even care about the facts. They just their beliefs are their beliefs and no fact pattern. Even if they don't dispute the data, even if they don't dispute the evidence, they might not dispute anything you said to get to your conclusion, but they still just say, I don't believe it. And
Right.
why they don't believe it is because they choose not to believe it. And that's satisfactory for them. So
I saw a really interesting point. I think this was 2015, maybe. It was maybe before that. I remember seeing Newt Gingrich speaking with, I believe it was CNN at the time. And I brought this up many times over the years because I saw at the time how this was going to play out. Not that I knew it would become this, but it was basically, he was talking about the FBI. That she brought up a graph that basically said, crime is down per the FBI from the administration you support, right? Like in every major state. And he goes, that's just not true. And she goes, it is. I mean, it's right here. I can prove it to you, And he goes, no, well, the people disagree. He's like, but the stats are clear. Like, that's not true. He goes, well, I'll go with the people. I'll agree with what people say. You can go with the stats. And I was like, what? And so from a political perspective, from a politician, it was clearly, it became maybe long before this, but it was okay. Well, there's power in just in embracing what the collective mindset is as opposed to what the facts are, even against what the facts are showing. And I think I saw that was beginning to very much snowball in Trump's first administration. It just went crazy. And now look where we are, but I'm now seeing the other side of that. Like I've pointed out, I'm of the mind that the majority is not trapped in that. Maybe it's 49%, but I do think it's beginning to taper away from what it was because of how bombastic and obvious it is. But it's an interesting overlap to think about, that they just decided to, it's a Bernaysian, right? It's propaganda, manufacturing consent.
Yeah. I try and tell people, everyone who I have, discussions with, I try and say a good discipline when you're trying to convince somebody of something is that any claim you make, you have to separate out when you're expressing an opinion, when you're speculating on something, right, and when you're asserting something as an indisputable fact.
Right.
If you're submitting something as an indisputable fact, cite your source. Okay. So anyone else can check it out. It's not just the words that come out of your mouth.
Right.
So if you're citing something as an opinion, okay, anyone is entitled to their opinion, and then when you ask people their opinion, you say, well, what's the foundation for your opinion? What due diligence did you do to reach that conclusion? How did you get to that opinion?
Right.
These are the type of questions I ask people when I get together. I want to understand how they think. So or don't think.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to really get a sense of how I'm trying to understand them, and I give them the opportunity of understanding me, because whenever people will ask me, I will always explain to them, how I got to the conclusions I get, and I'm always very careful about separating out what an opinion of mine is and where I'm speculating, and what I'm using by deduction from the facts that are available. And then the question is the facts available reliable facts that are available? So you have to always take them to some extent with a grain of salt, and that's what you rely upon if somebody really wants to have an intelligent conversation. So whatever your goal is in conversation, if you just want to enjoy intelligent conversation, or do you want to convince somebody, the question is what do you think is your responsibility to know something that you think is so unique that you want other people to know what you know? Okay. So what effort did you put into your knowledge that you think that would basically go to other people and say, you should rely upon all the effort I've put into accumulating this knowledge, so you don't have to put all the effort into doing it. But ultimately, if they put almost no effort into it, and then want to convince people of knowledge that they put almost no effort into it, that's just stupid. Okay,
Yeah.
my opinion.
A good Katie points to the emperor's new clothes, a good overlap, even more so than I think than just the point we're making is that, you could argue that this goes even further, that a Trump or whoever, which I think it's both sides of this, but Trump is being played in many ways too, right? So he, like in the story, it's obviously the king is wearing nothing but believes he's got new clothes. So he's being played by people. Everyone's wondering. It's kind of like that in a way too. It's both sides of it, right? But it's just clear that there's just, I mean, if you right now talk to people, to take your point, like I was saying before about just taking it partisanship and ignoring the facts, the argument would be that their source is what Trump said or what Hegseth said or the statement, not the facts. But they believe that is the fact because they said so, so they're all trapped in this kind of emperor's new clothes kind of illusion. And that's, so it's trying to reach people is what we're doing. It's important to come at it from that angle, to try to highlight to them, not just that, you're wrong, let me prove it to you, but like try to get them to see through that illusion in ways that like they do themselves. It's, I've often brought up on a side note, a psychological part of this. Like, let's just say like COVID-19, they talked about mass psychosis. It's like, if that's what we're dealing with, and I kind of think that's where this is in partisanship, is there another avenue we should be taking than just trying to prove things? Is it more of like you're in a cult and we have to like rewire your brain back out of it? Like sounds intense, but I feel like a conversation we should have.
Yeah. And going back to, point and Kristi Noem acknowledging, and this is part of improving our conversation. My speculation, my opinion is the only reason why we learned the truth from Kristi Noem about that is because she knew that this judge Boasberg was now proceeding with contempt. So, she might have had to testify under oath what she knew and didn't know. So I think while the MAGA people were attacking this judge, for being obsessed and going after and wanting to seek the truth, actually his seeking the truth has I'm cutting out. I didn't know that.
You're back now a little bit, but you've been cutting in and out just a little bit.
No, sorry. My internet connection usually is pretty good. But, it seems to me that the threat of her having to possibly testify under oath decided I better come out with the truth now. So maybe now I won't even need to testify because I've already gotten out, and hopefully that'll avoid me being under oath because I've now already admitted the fact is that, then now they'll have to figure out. Now the judge will have to figure out.
I'm not getting any of it, Jeffrey.
Oh.
I think I lost you there.
It says it's StreamYard.
I'll jump in case he's going to try to pop in and out. If you hear me, Jeffrey, you're completely frozen now. I would respond to your point, but I couldn't make out what you were saying. But if there you go. Are you back? Can you hear me? Oh, shoot. I was going to just jump into something until you get back, but if you're frozen now, I was just going to bring up something that I was going to bring up later. Two things I was hoping we could talk about would be the dismissal of oh, there you are. Now you're back.
Okay.
So it looks like you're back now. Go ahead.
Okay. Now I'm saying that you having the issues, not me.
It could be. It definitely could be me. So sorry. I've been cutting out all over the place. So if the chat says that, then that's on me. Sorry. Normally my light goes on when it's having trouble. That's why I thought it was on your end. So
yeah, now I see you frozen. So fuzzy and frozen. So then somebody's now saying but they hear you. So I don't know. And then somebody said, then somebody's now telling me that StreamYard is freezing.
Okay.
So it could be a StreamYard problem.
I can hear you now, Jeffrey, if you want to continue.
Yeah. Let's continue until this cuts out again and becomes unpleasant for everyone. But this has sidetracked me now. I forgot the point that I was making.
Oh, well, why don't I jump in then? Because I was just going to throw something out there since it was freezing. I thought it'd be interesting for us to discuss, since we haven't really gone back to it since the beginning, is the collapse of DOGE. Right? It's interesting, right? Because we were really talking about that at the beginning, and there's so many things going on. I mean, start with one interesting thing. is that, so basically the Trump administration acknowledged that it doesn't exist anymore. Even Grok will now say that it has ended as of the November 25th, but Elon Musk is out there with his Doge account and claiming that Reuters and the rest are just completely making it up. But even Grok will tell you it's been shut down. So just in a general conversation point, I think it's fascinating with what happened after that, you know?
Well,